So here is today's recap for October 6th if you're an Aday student, and if you are in my Bday classes, October 7th. So we're kind of progressing from Rogue Wave. We read the article last week, which was an informational article about Abby Sunderland, who was a teenager who was trying to sail around the world by herself, and she ended up getting shipwrecked in the middle of the Indian Ocean. So what we are that was an informational article. What we're focused on today is that we are talking about persuasive articles and the ways in which people persuade you in the writing, and eventually we're going to be getting to our own persuasive articles and opinions. So let's take a look at today's classwork, and let me point out some things to you, and hopefully make it easier on you if you missed class or if you're just going back over everything we did. So the first thing we did in class was we watched this video here, which is attached to the classwork from today. And you're going to want to watch that video because this gives you an idea of sort of the media reaction to the informational article that we read last time about Abby Sunderland, and kind of gives you a feel for how people are thinking in reaction to what happened. You'll also notice that down here there are two things attached that will be useful for you to do the classwork slash homework, which is answer these 5 questions right here. So just to recap, you're not answering those questions at the bottom of the article because the article comes from the textbook. I want you to answer my questions. So let's take a look at this author's purpose persuade presentation real quick so that you can get an idea of some of the things that we talked about, and it will also be very important for you because it is a portion of the classwork homework. So let me pull this up for you. So uh, the article we're going to be reading that you'll read for the questions for the homework is called an opinion editorial, or sometimes people call it an op-ed rather than always saying opinion editorial, or you might just say an editorial. So these are articles in the newspaper that are sent in. You might see in the letters to the editor section, or they might just say opinion page. This is where you could personally write one of these and send it into the editor of the Delaware State News if you wanted. So many times they talk about politics, maybe something about the president or about a law that's going to be passed or something like that. Maybe just a current event in general. What if a hurricane just hit and this person wants to explain, how this is a big problem? Or maybe something that's just important to that author. So what if they were just sharing with you tips and tricks for taking care of your animal as the weather gets colder? So something like that. So the bottom line is this, that I was trying to really express in class and hammer this home. This is not the opinion of the newspaper. This is only the opinion of the author, and when you write an opinion editorial. And that's going to be important when you read the one that is related to Abby Sunderland. So these are all pretty obvious, I think, and notice the irony there that I said obviously. I think that these are pretty clear, that you can see that these are stating an opinion, but these are all very clear indicators for when someone is trying to persuade you of something. And we talked about also, as we went over the warm-up, because that was one of the questions, how can you tell if someone's trying to persuade you? So think about if someone's trying to sell you a car. So what are all the things that they're going to do when they sell you a car? They're going to try and give you statistics about what the car can do and its speed, maybe, or maybe its safety rating. Think about how certain words, like the word should, especially, that's a word that gives you an opinion. So if I say you should wear a jacket, maybe you think you should not wear a jacket because it's too warm. So that's your opinion versus my opinion. That's not a fact. So these are some of these descriptive words to describe something. So superlative. So let's go back to my example about buying a car. The car dealer is probably going to tell you that this is the fastest car in the world. This is the best car in the world, right? So using things like that. Or if you say, well, I was thinking about buying this other car, they might say, oh, that's the smallest minivan there is. You don't want to buy that one. Or these other emphasis words like, this is definitely the best choice for you. Or not only can this car do this, but also, so you get the idea. Now, getting back to our writing questions or writing methods here. So think about rhetorical questions, and not just rhetorical questions, but leading rhetorical questions right here. So a leading question is something meant to get you to agree or to kind of force you into a corner with your response. So let me give you an example. If I went to you and said, hey, this ice cream is like the best ice cream ever, right? then you only have a couple options: either agree with me or say no, I don't think this is the best ice cream ever. So then it turns into a totally different conversation. So here's an example right here where it says, do you really think that? So do you really think that the potholes in Wilmington don't need to be replaced? So that's an example of something somebody might write into a local newspaper, and it kind of gets you to think along their lines and persuade you to their side of the argument. So this inclusive or exclusive language is really good for appealing to someone's sense of belonging. So you say something like, people like us want the potholes fixed. People are us smart people, whereas everybody else, they don't want the potholes fixed in Wilmington. So again, you're trying to play off of their emotions, which is another technique that we'll talk about here in just a bit, and emotional appeals. So let's say they paint the image for you of children getting hurt in an automobile accident because of the fact that they were riding a school bus on a road with too many potholes. So see how that would be very convincing, or a good parent would vote for new potholes, not just say the status quo is okay. So anyhow, that's my little presentation from Google Slides that relates to the homework classwork. So let's talk about that in just a moment. Let me switch my screen share here for you. And so here we go with the questions that go with the article. So again, here's the article. It's called Ship of Fools. You want to click that. I'm not going to click it because I'm not going to read it to you right here. But here are the questions. So question number 1 is about the central idea. The central idea is very much like a theme in the sense that it's a complete sentence and it sums up what you're reading, except for an informational or a persuasive article, you just call it central idea rather than theme. Number 2, I'm asking you to, so number 1, you could even make the connection that the central idea of a text is the author's main claim. And I want you to tell me, what are some of the facts that this person, so the claim is their opinion, but I want you to find some of the facts from the article that this author uses in order to support her opinion. Number 3 and 4, this goes back to our author's purpose presentation that we just watched. So I want you to use the Google slide, and I'll give you a hint. The reason why I put all those in my slides is because all of them get used in this article. So there's lots of good examples. So for instance, you might find a rhetorical question, copy that rhetorical question down, and then just tell me that the author used rhetorical questions right here. Or if you see where like she uses inclusive or exclusive language, then an example of that. And then number 5 is simply your opinion, claim, cite, clarify format, of course. And a quick note about that, I've been grading some of the short answer responses, and most people did very well, but make sure, claim, cite, clarify. 1 sentence for your claim, that's your opinion. 1 sentence that includes a quote from the text, and then 1 or 2 sentences to clarify. So you could have 3 to 4 sentences for your response to number 5. And I just want you to tell me, do you agree or disagree with the person who wrote this opinion editorial? So in a nutshell, that's what we did in class today, and hopefully this is a little bit helpful for anybody who missed out or was maybe forgetting some of the things we discussed.